Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to Haydee. So, I think we are close to, we're closer than I would imagine, I would suspect, towards our first encounter with the actual enemies in this game. It does certainly concern me a little bit. Let's see, that's not the mouse cursor. Interesting. Moving the mouse cursor does assume then mouse and keyboard input. It concerns me a little bit, certainly, starting a YouTube video and then immediately just having the butt. So maybe we could try and find something more interesting to, or more kind of censored to start with in the first, when we pause the game. Although it would be kind of tough. Like, this camera has every angle possible covered. It is kind of interesting here that the arm is clipping a little bit. Let's move to the next room. So here's our first robot guy, and how are we going to engage with this guy? Well, I guess we'll engage with him perfectly fine by taking the gun, and then what? Like, press the back button, assign this. That's not what I wanted to do. I hope I didn't. Then Y and that. Alright, so I do have my gun in my hand. It is not on the D-pad, which is kind of what I would have expected. So the gun here clips through the wall anyways. Interesting. It does not seem like it's loaded. Alright. So how do we get the bullets in? It's like the game just isn't telling you any of that at all. Like, yeah, this looks like this would hit it perfectly. And yet, alright, it is the right bump. Okay, good to know. Not a very impactful weapon there. You can see here these robots are fairly different. On this robot was a other copy. There was one. You get into a weird position here where you kind of have to assume that these are all robots and that the character you're playing is also a robot. It would be an interesting twist, certainly, if it turned out that, oh man, when you look at the texture of this body armor, it is a different textured fabric. You have to kind of really zoom in on it, though, with your eyes to tell that there is a difference there. And you kind of have to be in the light. The lighting here is not great, for as much as the camera loves to look at the character, the lighting is not really placed in the best way. Like, ideally you would just have lights kind of in the corners so that no shadow would be cast from the center. We can't search this guy, and at a certain level, I guess this is the male, you would assume, version of the robots. versus the female version of the robots. Anyways, what I was saying, though, was it would be intriguing if it turned out that your character actually is a human and you've just been forced into this body armor suit, this robot suit, and that leads to the assumption that you're just one of many robots instead. Otherwise, I guess you're just kind of a unique robot that has a higher chance of surviving than the other robots. For all we know, this is just a testing facility, and this is all intentional. Alright. So I imagine that is a health kit. The question would come down to, though, how much does a health kit refill? Should I use it now because I've taken a little bit of damage? Or should I wait until I'm past the halfway point? Or should I wait until I am almost completely dead? And see, now we have a red button here, almost to warn of danger. But yeah, I kind of enjoy the idea of all the buttons being red. If anything, I guess that might be an indication that there's one red button that was pushed and another red button. This would be heck of painful on someone's knees, by the way, to be fully bent over like this and not squatting down at all, in high heels. That does definitely imply more of a robotic type creature would do that versus a human. A human would squat their butt down or crawl on their knees. A human would lose the high heels immediately. And certainly having such large breasts in the first place is going to lead you to probably having back pain. I guess we have infinite amounts of saves, so just rewriting save spots here. I may make a third save spot and toggle between 3, but I think mostly this game isn't just going to be that long to need that third save spot. Alright, so we do now have the key to reach this area, and the game is trying to remind us of that. So we're definitely going backwards and forwards. There definitely feels like there could have been an argument to not have the enemies and not have the guns. We just got an achievement for reaching it this far, so that may be a full chapter, full hour of gameplay, of 2 or 3 hours of gameplay. These long hauls potentially could imply when a chapter ends and starts. It could also be an implication of a load zone. Could also have been a trap. This is not a game that I think really would have benefited well by having traps in them. Like, let's just jump down instead of climbing down. We're slowly gaining some confidence. And then just look around here. What would really screw us up, I suppose, is if I can't climb, which I can't, when a gun is equipped. So you have to free your hands to climb. Good thing I didn't try to run and jump there. it looked like you could possibly have just worked your way around. I'm not super unconfident as far as interesting that there's like a metallic sound there. This should have something that we could open, but there's nothing there. There's a path this way, so let's check this out first. And very, very dark. The music triggered. So now we're in a green area. And so I wonder if the green area is going to be interesting. So that did just straight up make a platform appear. And the button is toggleable. And seemingly there's two buttons here, so more puzzling. Oh, all of this feels fairly dangerous. We came in one door and we came out the other door. Let's engage with it, though. Okay. So it doesn't seem like you can crawl around. It does seem like we are going towards this green button. It definitely, like, you really gotta get the angle kind of straight here. Or it does seem like the game might let you grab the wrong ledge. Although it does kind of feel like the game is fairly generous in these directions. Yeah, you are effectively floating in the air, and it is grabbing the ledges fairly nicely for you. That being said, not greatly. New game, I guess is where we saved last. X disconnects things. Okay. I do feel like I may have missed something in this game, but I honestly don't know if that's really the case, or if that's just, if it really is just we're going to get back to this area after a while. I could see this game just getting really crazy too. Oops. Wow. Well, I guess I'm learning my lesson as far as playing fast and loose with things. I would expect the game is not that long, if it really is gonna let you die this much. And I can't say that I fully agree with the idea of having a game that lets you die this much, and not having checkpoints. Like, checkpoints are just universally the right way to go. Very rarely would you run into a scenario where it wasn't the right move. And even if they were going to get rid of checkpoints and just let me have me manually save, but at any point I would still definitely want to have that experience versus this experience. It definitely is also a danger that this game will just get too commonplace with shoving the butt in our face and we'll get bored of it. Interesting. So this seems like this is taking me to a different area. A blue area. And that toggled something, but I don't know what. Interesting. It's not really letting me climb down there. Well, there is nothing in this game that implies to me that you could actually get in the water and swim, except for the fact that there is a screenshot where you get in the water and swim. Right, so now we're getting a different animation. When she goes forward, she does kind of a butterfly kick, and then she kind of stabilizes herself backwards automatically. So this is just pressing forward. Is this full animation, which that's quite a lot. There. Let's see. That's with the left stick. A does nothing, B does nothing, X does nothing, Y does nothing. Left trigger does nothing, right trigger does nothing, right bump, left bump does nothing. Although, left bump does seem to have something to do with the menu. So, we may be a surface swimmer only. Which, I don't know canonically how you would explain that. I guess we're swimming around to see if we can find buttons to push. But I don't think the buttons are slowly draining or raising the water, which is what we would be looking for. There's something that would slowly lower the water down, I guess. And reflections here are kind of deceptive as far as what you can see. If there was something here, I could then climb up there. Just against the wall, though, you can't jump up to this. There was a game that I played where you played as a robot, and it did feel to me like it would have been an interesting twist if the game revealed at the last second that the robot is not actually a robot and it was actually a human. Okay. If that did anything, it just made the water greener. And if we were going to try and jump this way, I guess maybe that's what the game's all about. That being said, I just don't think you make that jump. Yeah, there was definitely a square here before, and now that square has moved. Just straight up disappeared and is over in this corner. So this is all about making a path. Interesting. I don't think, though, we could just jump out of the water. So yeah, that does put the platform back. I wonder if jumping with that camera angle isn't better. Here you can see the shadow silhouette. And then I guess the question is, it seems like we're supposed to go over that way. This is one of those examples of platforms that really don't give you as much wind up as you would like. It's just not quite as much room. Getting the cursor reticle in the right place. Okay. So that lifted a new spot there. Let's see, can we get the reticle here? No. I am enjoying the water. Noticeably, when she gets out of the water, there's no drip animation. It seems like her body is completely hydrophobic, in the sense that there's not even just a little bit of water dripping off of that. And I guess in a Haydee 2, perhaps they would hopefully address something like that. Although it is an interesting question, is just how far down the well would a sequel go as far as just showing more butt and more of a character, versus how much would they try to actually have more of a game. This doesn't feel like there is no game here, by quite far from that, but it does feel like that at least, I would say, half of your focus in this game is around the 3D model. Although inherently, I also have to admit that while I am a Portal fan and would potentially play a game like this just because of my fandom for Portal, I could see a lot of people not engaging with a game like this had you just been playing as a normal robot, like in the Talos Principle, which is kind of funny that there isn't a mod that I know of that would put Haydee in the Talos Principle, since the Talos Principle does have mods, mod support. Although certainly the Talos Principle also is very high-minded in its story, so having a big-boobed, big-breasted character, I don't know if that would work. Okay, so we still have a gate problem, which means somewhere around here there's a button we haven't pushed. And considering where we are, I just can't really trust these reflections at all, because it kind of does feel like this door and this button here are just being reflected in a weird, awkward way. I'm trying to look upward. This is almost taking the ideas of a hidden object game and putting it in a 3D environment game. Yeah, you really don't have the smoothest of experiences here as far as the platforming. Everything I'm saying seems to imply to me that it was as solved as it can be solved, and that I do have to go in the other area. I don't know if I'm actually losing health falling these small distances, but you do kind of instantly die, obviously. See, there's these whole lower sections, and there's seems like the game either really likes for you to have extra doors that you can't engage with, or that this whole area is going to be interconnected in a much bigger way. See, solving that whole platforming thing seems like that's not really what I would want to have happen. Ah, here we go. We have a save spot. Absolutely what we would want. Alright. So this is just a save spot. And there's nothing in there. We can't jump over this barrier. That allows you to have some piping visuals without it really being dangerous. And we probably can do the platforming a little bit better now that I've swapped this. It is weird, I have to admit, that the game seems to play better with this camera angle when you're jumping, and then probably with this camera angle when you're shooting, but it might not be too bad to play with this camera angle when you're shooting. Also, there's a very far camera on this side and not as far of a camera on this side, so it isn't a one-to-one exchange. And while this game will save you most of the time, the penalty for messing up still does feel fairly high, and that you would have to load back. I wonder if in the hardcore mode, if you're not able to actually save at all, or you have a limited number of saves. Oh, I thought for a second there I might have died and missed it. I think there is something to be said about having any character in your game instead of a first-person perspective with no character. This could have been a first-person game and you could have never seen yourself. And I'm not sure I can think of a specific game where that is particularly that necessary. It does allow a player to imagine themselves in the game perhaps a little bit easier, but I don't know if that's even a good thing, to self-insert yourself into stories of video games, into fictional narratives. That seems kind of unimaginative or unempathetic at a certain level, to if you can't play video games as a different character. There's definitely some people out there that can't play or won't play video games if they're playing as a female character. These sales numbers have shown that in the past decades, although arguably the experiments don't happen often enough in modern time to see if that's the case or not. Like, I think something like Horizon Zero Dawn probably does counter that thought somewhat, but also Horizon Zero Dawn has had some controversy around its sequel game, in which they kind of drastically changed the female protagonist appearance for what I would argue the worse, as a matter of opinion. Oops. And I guess anytime we see this, we should just be ready. Okay. So now we've got to load after doing all of that. That sucks. Noticeably, when I loaded here too, the game seemed to not save the state of these switches. Oh man, you just cannot rush it. I feel like I probably at the end toggled either this gate or this gate, and I should probably look at that path. Almost made the same mistake twice there. I do think I am getting slightly better at this. I do think the game is probably fairly generous to not let you accidentally walk off the edge. The main female protagonist in The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 also went through some fairly drastic appearance changes, and there was perhaps more legal reasons for that. Whereas a comparison to, say, well, Joel in the exact same game, I think looks pretty much exactly the same, and the God of War character looks very similar to the way he's always looked, even though the God of War reboot drastically changed how that character was written and how players felt about him. Yeah, we're going this way. And ideally, you might think about going and saving after doing all of this, but if it's not going to save the states of at least these green buttons... Wow, I almost fell to my death there. I don't know what you would really be saving. Potentially taking on 2 robots at the same time does seem like a fairly big ask. It almost feels like you don't even have to press the A button. I bet you do, but it does kind of seem like you have a fairly floaty jump that triggers itself. Right. I can see through this grate that grate door does not seem to be open, but I can't see that grate. So here we go, back around. Well, a lot of people would probably decry sexism in the fact that video gamers often comment on the appearance of female characters. I think it's probably just more of a natural thing that, fair or not, happens in the real world. Like, a male character in a video game or in the real world can basically look like a slob or a barbarian, and nobody will think a second thing about it, and so there's just no commentary that appears there. Whereas females, partially due to their own vanity, make themselves look very dynamically different and often very good looking, so it's no surprise that that stands out. So at a certain point it is a gaze issue in which what they would call the male gaze, or just an average person's gaze, does tend to be drawn towards a female form more than a male form, and in part it's a vanity issue. And that's, I guess, the kind of deep-minded thoughts that I'm having while playing this lewd let's look at a character robot butt with big cleavage. It does probably say something too that they like big breasts in this game, but the outfit is not interested in really showing any actual cleavage. You can't deny that there is actually just a natural instinct on a human being too to have your eyes drawn towards not only breasts but female forms in general. Like, the baby always looks towards its mother from its first breath, because the mother is the food provider, the mother is the source that you will see first. The mother is the one that's going to be the carer in most scenarios. It's not until later that, on a different scale, a father might be a provider of, say, financial / farming support or protection from predators, even in caveman days. This is concerning because I'm afraid this is either going to be a laser or this is going to be like a machine gun. The red dot doesn't seem safe. Okay. Seems like it's just a combination lock. Alright, so we can brute force this fairly easily. Left, then right. I bet this is probably pre-programmed and not randomized. Yeah, and something like this definitely gives the feeling that that there's perhaps a level of testing going on. I can't jump over this to reach that area. And I think that area is probably connected to this area, but I don't know for certain. But obviously I can't go there. That's another doorway open and another doorway open. I don't think I can climb down there though. Maybe I could climb down there. It does definitely feel like you can just go in a lot of different places. See, there's a robot, and I wonder if I am supposed to just avoid robots. Interesting that there's a lock here. One of these days I'm going to drop that. Oh man. So now we've got mines too. Well, this sucks. We've got a blue area that yeah, it seems like you in that instance really wouldn't have to jump, you could just run forward. So we have a blue area that seems dangerous with a robot. We have a green area, no, a blue area that seems like you can't solve it from where you are. We've got two robots. We have a gun that seems like it's not strong enough. There's a lot of encouragement of running around and investigating without really rewarding the player. This is kind of a great example of like why you would need checkpoints in a game, is that the desire to have a player wander around and investigate more places is being crushed by the lack of safety around it. Yeah. And I don't think I have anywhere else I can go or anything else I can do, and that is a level in a lot of games where being able to do something else differently or having an alternate path can be really beneficial for the player. I do think I probably am supposed to go through this door first, and then I'm supposed to potentially come back through that door later. That would make a little bit more sense. Going through that other door didn't immediately give you a stronger weapon or anything, which is what you would have kind of expected it to do. Probably would be nice if there was an actual floor it showed when you fell to the death. Or if the game just was generous enough to say, hey, load in another game automatically. Load last save point wouldn't be hard to add as a menu option, instead of making me press the start button and then select load. Inherently, the game is, whether it intends to or not, encouraging me to choose a different option on the menu, like quit or new game, which I don't think is their intention. Would I benefit in any way if I started a new game? Not really. Of course, the repetitiveness and the annoyance here, which is going up with each failure, then creates a scenario where I kind of don't want the game to be as long as I would have wanted it to be before. Now I would really prefer it to be maybe 3 hours instead of 5 hours, if it's going to get increasingly difficult. Now I'm making an assumption here, so I'm going to go ahead and just try something different here. Ooh, that used up my save disk. So you have a limited number of saves. Well, that's annoying. Do you only get one save, like floppy disk, each? Do you only get one at a time, I wonder? And will I now just find one in a random place? Because I was wrong about it not saving the location of these squares. So it probably was worth doing that. But I'm not particularly happy. Right, we can't crawl and shoot at the same time. Okay. And so I guess the idea here is, oh, we are doomed. We're out of bullets. Let's just leave. So that refills your health, and I might as well do it now. So we're out of bullets, and we are out of things. We have a Wi-Fi looking symbol here. We're out of health kits, we're out of bullets. My only hope is that maybe that was the plan, is that you really should just run. This is locked, and I don't know what's going to unlock these. And inherently, if I don't get a save file, if I don't get a save disk, then I won't be able to get bullets. I won't be able to do much of anything. I really would like to find a save file, otherwise we are going to be in this weird position where at any point I could be attacked by robots and be dead, and then just be back at that same save spot. We are just going everywhere with this though. I feel like there was a thing there. Yeah, there's no way to get up there. Even though it seems like there might be something up there, I guess maybe there isn't. And that opens that gate. Ideally, the camera would kind of shift so that you could see what is being opened. It is kind of just leaving you to figure it out otherwise. Okay. Yeah. So color me confused. We came up here. We were here. From this spot. We can fall and take a lot of damage. And then there's just nothing else here. If we close that, we still can't get up there. We can't get up there. We can't get up there. So what am I missing? It does kind of seem like the path is to crawl on the ledge. And I guess we're just kind of in a safe enough spot that we'll have to end this episode here. It definitely feels a little crazy that in the next recording I could potentially die, and then I'm going to load back to a save spot that's going to be fairly far away. So hopefully we get another save spot and another floppy disk. And I'll have to be particularly careful about not overusing the saves too. But yeah, it seems like this is definitely leaning towards a map that has a lot of interconnected areas, so it's not going to be a particularly wide map or tall map. It's going to just be a very dense map where rooms are going to be right next to rooms are going to be right next to rooms, and there's just going to be a lot of gates. In a funny way, it is kind of a 3D metroidvania or Metroid Prime concept, but without any special abilities to unlock doors other than just generic keys. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.